Ready? Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reminder, keep it 2 minutes, and please identify yourself when you speak. Right. We're already at the schedule.
Adjourn and go home.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to minutes of the last meeting.
Did somebody take notes for me?
I did.
Thank you, yay.
Yeah.
Did y'all vote on the ones from
We did
before?
not.
No, we did
It
not.
would have been from the two before that
I know you
Did
distributed,
everybody
yeah,
read them?
no.
Did you read them?
I did.
I have not. I've been playing catch up.
I think I did before the last meeting, but I don't remember what they said.
I did.
And I still owe you notes from the other one. Can we just put them on for the next?
Yes.
I will do that.
Yeah, all right.
And then I will try to set a reminder to all of us to review prior to the meeting.
So we all need some extra reading.
Yeah.
The video is up though, from the last meeting, which was very helpful. If you need any details.
Okay. Pam, I'm sure took great notes.
Yes.
I have lots of pages. So,
Okay,
All right.
I'll grab them from you, Pam.
All right, so we'll table it, and then I'll try to send a reminder a couple days before. All right, announcements and correspondence.
Yeah, give me just 1 sec. Okay, so I got a phone call on Thursday from Mr. Marshallian. Apparently the Acton Town Council drive-through issue that we were sort of learned about at the last minute some time ago is now scheduled to go before the Planning Commission on July 17th. The package is posted, it's exactly 1 month out. I indicated to Mr. Marshalling that I wouldn't be in the country on that date, so we'll have to figure something out. We'll have to look at the package. I don't even know, since it was never clear what the purpose was, or what the issue was. Hopefully it'll be answered in the package, but I haven't had a chance to look at the package.
So it's going in front of the planning board.
Yeah, and before it goes to the board. I'm sure it's going to go to the board eventually, so.
okay, so we can look it up on regional planning.
Yes, it's scheduled for July 17th.
Okay.
Again, I don't know anything more than that because I haven't had a chance. There was an announcement from the ARTC on Wednesday that the public comment period on the sustainability plan has been extended to, I think it was June 28th. Let me double check. June 28th. So we have a little bit of breathing room. I'm up to, let's see, I think I'm up to 12 pages single space so far, and I'm only at page 80 of the plan. I don't know if there's too much after that, but so there is time for people to comment. An important element of the plan is that, and we'll talk about it later, it bans development in high hazard areas, which includes Acton, beginning in 5 years. So, among other problems. So that's, I think that's it for my announcement. For my announcements anyway.
Okay. Anybody have correspondence?
Looks like it was pretty quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I do, I'm sorry, Chris Perry did email us back saying he's willing to meet with us to talk about the film CUP issues.
Oh, I
and
saw
things.
that, yes.
So I'd like to know when everybody might be able to do that. I'll be here till the end of June. You know, I want to give them a few days that work for most of us.
So this is going to be a closed meeting?
Yeah.
Just us and them and
Mr.
the local
Perry, yep.
residents? Mr. Perry, not,
Not Supervisor Barger, but Chris Perry.
but not the CEO's office and the Film LA people, and it's going to be another one of those deals?
It,
Do we know?
but it should be, because that's not what we asked for. Here is his response. Where am I? Good afternoon. Thank you for the email below and your ongoing concerns with filming in Acton. We would be happy to meet to discuss these issues. Susie Asuna, one of we'll help arrange a meeting in Acton or at our Lancaster Field office. So I asked him, I couched the request within the context of the CUPs, which all the CUPs that have been issued so far, you know, they're exempt from noise, they're exempt from lighting, they're exempt from everything that we've had concerns about. So that was, you know, the context within which I made the request. And the CUPs have nothing to do with the COO at all.
Right.
So there would be no reason for anyone from the COO to go or Film LA, because it's not it's a land use issue.
So I just noticed we've had some traffic back and forth between the CEO's office and Chris Croysdale.
And I haven't had a chance to read those. Chris called me and I said, I just can't deal with it right now.
Yeah. So it's basically,
Have you read it?
I just breezed through two of them today. Has to do with amplified music playback and conditions or hours outside the agreed upon, which
It seemed to be screwed.
Gary Smith basically said that, no, the hours are fine, and
But it's still like 1 a.m. or
Yeah,
something.
but he said that it rests on the surveys, that if the surveys
Right.
come back okay, then they'll go ahead.
When I talked to Chris this morning, I said, look, okay, because he gave me a thumbnail, but I didn't follow all of it. I said, just, if the surveys are already out and the notice is already out, then you need to contact Oscar Gomez, because at that public
He
meeting,
did contact Oscar.
Mr. Smith from the CEO's office pointed at Oscar and said, if it's a noise issue, then it would probably be regional planning. So he contacted Oscar. What did Oscar say?
Basically, the surveys, if people don't have a problem with it, then not a problem.
But we've also been told that at Middleton, they don't do surveys because there's nobody living within.
Which is what Kristen brought up, and then, so it was,
So the system is, we're supposed to contact regional planning.
well, I'm tired of being the police, to be honest with you, and even I'm not doing all the work either.
Right.
And I don't like it. He did say in the email, which I thought, and I know we're getting a little off topic, but Gary Smith did say that, well, the permit will always go out before it's approved, before the surveys are approved. So they're basically writing the permit, approving it, and then the survey information comes in.
Yeah, he said that the survey, the whole package gets turned over from Film LA to regional planning when the surveys go out and when the notice is issued. When the notice is issued, that's when it goes to the county. That's why I'm saying we got to go to the county if we have concerns with the survey, because that's the only time.
Right, but the notice and the permit has already been executed,
Yes,
even though the surveys have not even been looked at.
exactly.
That's the first time I've seen it in plain language like that, that's the order.
yeah, he said, as a reminder, notices go out before the permit is approved, which is always the rule. That's what Gary Smith.
But also the surveys happen at that time, so there's no.
There seems to be no separation between, which is, I think, what adds to the confusion about what's a survey versus a notice.
Well, but the real issue is that if a resident has a concern,
Yeah, there's no
Then-
hearing, yeah.
that became very clear at the meeting, because then at that point, the package has always already gone to regional
Yeah,
planning.
no, yeah, that's
Gary
what I'm
Smith
saying.
said, talk to regional
Yeah.
planning, and it's,
I've always looked at it like it's almost the same document. The survey and the notice are almost like the same thing. Instead of like survey,
right.
we.
But regional planning is supposed to impose the conditions on
yeah,
it
yeah.
to fix the
No,
concerns.
yeah, no, I agree. It's
So
just
is he
saying,
saying, did Oscar and
Well-
everybody just say, look, Chris, you're not within the survey area, so we're not going to take
no,
your
I didn't see
concern?
anybody say that.
No,
Okay.
no.
So the only thing was in terms of my statement about the notices, no process is perfect. I did state notices go out before the permit is approved, which is always the rule. Rule meaning we seek to do that always. On the rare occasion that a notice and permit are approved on the same day doesn't mean there's a flaw. Surveys are not required on every film shoot, which is what slows down. He says slows down approvals, but bring it down. Rules where special effects or after hours are requested.
So Chris is being affected again by noise issues and.
I think he's got concerns because of the location of it, and then he's concerned because they've been so adamant about that it's from the point of wherever it's being filmed, that a half mile from there, if that's where they're surveying, may not be, nobody gets surveyed.
Nobody's there.
It's a rock band video with outdoor amplification.
Oh,
At
Till like 1
3 a.m. or 1 a.m.
1 a.m.
okay.
Who is that?
Well, I can't tell if they don't, or it's just because Chris isn't in the survey area, and so, because Chris is saying, I have concerns with this, and it's like being, I'm not hearing these concerns are being factored in.
Well,
No,
yeah,
they never
they
are.
basically said the only flaw in the survey process is some properties might be in the half-mile radius for special effects prohibited by access by owners. We feel that a half-mile radius is sufficient radius for special effects. I can touch base with Phil about what production is planning. Sometimes amplified music is just music. It means music track played on a small box.
It's a rock film. It's a rock video.
Yeah, but
I had this little vision of
I
just
just,
another box.
this half mile thing keeps coming up and up and up. It's never been agreed upon a half mile. They just say half mile, and then, so, I think,
And we've discussed it many times that a half a mile
Well,
is too.
yeah, it's kind of interesting too, because then he goes on to talk about the SEAL team shoot. He says, recognize that insurance marshals also shoots outside the half-mile radius and not in the film only. Email notice list, so you know about it, follow the meeting agreement, encourage her to sign up for the email list. So it seems to be like that she would be noticed, she could be notified of the email list, but they may not take it into account because she's not.
Yeah, I don't
in the half-mile.
understand it.
Like,
What
I
is it,
don't-
what good does it do to
Yeah,
have a
to
notice
like,
and
great, I
and
know.
raise a concern and have it be like, that's not relevant? I don't understand. I don't care who, it could be, you know, Joe Blow calls up and says, hey, I'm concerned about this. Does it not matter because he's not allowed to call? I don't understand.
I can just put it in one simple explanation. When you get it, it says notice of filming.
Yeah, it doesn't say survey.
It doesn't
you know,
say
are you okay with
survey,
this?
notice of proposed filming. It says notice of filming, implying that no
It's
matter
already
what you
decided.
do, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's,
Well, and you know what, and the position's always been like, well, as long as it isn't outrageously loud or outrageously bright,
right, it's
and
fine.
not after 10 PM so we lose sleep, just do it. But they're not even, okay, I'm not sure what the path forward on that is, but.
Yeah.
We need to pick dates though, right?
Yes, because
It's this, so we're trying to figure out when we can meet with Chris then.
yes, so what dates could we throw out?
I'll be available whenever anybody else can.
I am traveling, so I will probably.
I think we need to avoid, what, the last week in July? Last 2 weeks?
But we can do any Wednesday because they're all planned power
I'm on
outages
most
from here to
July.
the end of
I've
summer.
gone for a
Every
lot of
Wednesday.
July. So I was kind of hoping next week,
Yeah, earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
A Wednesday's good because
maybe.
Yeah, well, there's a good chance that we won't have any electricity on a Wednesday. So,
on Wednesdays,
Outages fall
on
on
Wednesdays,
so,
Every Wednesday?
26 would be good for you.
because Aliso Canyon's a big
I never
area.
had a chance to get that email out.
yeah, no.
Sorry about that. So
Yeah,
June
every
26th, is that good for anyone else? I can do
Yeah, that's fine.
Is that good, that's good feedback? You're traveling?
Well, I'll probably be back by
That is on 20.
And they'll come here.
That's Wednesday, so that's fine.
Yeah, or either way,
We
I'll
should
just
probably get
throw it
that.
out. I'll throw it out
Throw
the
it
date.
out.
June 26th, is there any other date that would
Yeah,
work?
I was gonna say I'd give them a couple because
Yeah.
Well, sometimes outages occur on Mondays.
What was that?
So sometimes outages occur on Mondays. Any time during that week, I think I'm okay.
I'm okay, except for Friday, the 28th.
Okay, so 24, but you're not available
I
before
wouldn't be on the 24th for sure.
Okay.
I should be 25th, 26th, or 27th. I should.
25, 26,
Okay.
27.
So
Does that work
Tuesday
for
through
you?
Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll throw those out for him. Okay. I will.
I got a quickie question, if I may. What happened to Pauline East? Is she,
She's still, they announced at the film meeting that she is still the person for the Antelope Valley Film, Pauline, right? She's,
Pauline
yeah,
East?
yes, exactly. I talked to her, she said she's doing it. I guess she had some sort of, I don't know what the deal was.
Something happened.
She wasn't there and now she's back.
Okay. Oh, I'll find out tomorrow.
Oh, you guys have a film meeting or?
No, it just, she approached me and I don't.
Is water, okay, so I have, I have Maybe, I don't know if it falls under the sustain or well yield issue, because it was something raised at the Agua Dulce.
Yeah, I would
Do you want me to put it there?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll just leave it.
Well, I do, and it's Edison related, so Facebook be damned. So there's two separate things going on here, which obviously we know is, one is the reconductoring that's going on for the hardening of the grid of the distribution. And then there's the planned, what's the acronym they used for the?
SPS, planned shower, planned
Safety
power,
shower.
yeah,
Power
ESPS. I think.
ESPS, two separate things. Okay. So, and since maybe this can be in the whole business, but I'll just put it here. I watched the whole video of the Edison people talking. And when it came to them talking about the work they're doing now and the current outages, they said, oh, 1, maybe 2, that's it. Okay, well, we're going on number 4 on Wednesday. They haven't told us how many they're going to be. They haven't given us any additional information, even though requested via email from Ms. Seaman. So I just wanted to put that out there. But what really I thought caught my eye on that video is this. I heard them say that if they had the right conditions where they thought it would be in our best interest to shut off the grid, that they wouldn't turn the power back on for 72 hours or more. And I watched that part a couple of
That's what
times.
they said.
Yeah.
They said it could take that long because.
But that was 72 hours after the conditions were
Abated.
abated, where they can actually go and do inspection. Yet nothing's ever happened yet, right? There's not been a line down, there's not been a fire, there's been nothing. It's a set of conditions which they think is going to be criteria that could be a problem. That's a major problem for people that live on wells. And something that didn't get brought up in the I was talking about the wells is, most of the wells in Acton, their storage tanks are at grade with the house. Very few people have the luxury of having their tank 200 or 300 feet up on a hill where they have pressure. So 72 hours without water pressure is pretty bad around, to deal with. Now, since you have these terrible conditions, and these are the conditions a fire could start, if you had a fire start up during the 72-hour period, you're done. Because you can't even run a garden hose to put an ember out. And, during the station fire, I would like to say, they did a great job. We had fire units from Alameda County at our house. I mean, they came from all over. But it took 4, 5, 6 days to get down here. So we were kind of on our own until all these units come up. So at the time when you need it, we're not going to have any water. And, this thing, Jackie and I spoke a little bit about this today. There's still a window to get in front of the PUC and be a party to this and try to get some comment in here. But this is the dumbest thing that I've ever heard.
I'd like to dovetail a little bit on it, because I know that there's been some commentary in the community that the town council was responsible for getting the helicopters to stop. Like, to probably just clarify that it wasn't that we got to stop. They basically told us we were done in 2 days.
They told us the pound sand would be gone in 2 days.
No.
That was my understanding, was that they said we were going to be done in 2
They
days.
said with 2 more days, we'll be
Yeah.
done. No, I told them that if they didn't.
Correct. No,
They
correct.
planned,
Yeah, there was-
they're still flying all over the
Yeah.
place in
They
Leona
went back
Valley
over to
Lakes.
Shannon Valley.
All over.
Oh, so they're not finished. So, but
Well, I know they're flying down to Agua Dulce, so they might.
Well, I've seen in Shannon Valley, but on the other side of the hill in Leona Valley.
Yeah, they're all over Leona Valley, the lakes, everything. No, they were gonna keep on going. This thing is going on. They told me over the phone when I talked to them, throughout 2019, this sort of work was gonna be done. That's why I was like, I'm sitting on them so hard saying, no, ground mounted equipment for this. So I have to disagree.
No, that's fine. My read on it from Ms. Seelman was that, hey, we had 2 more days and then we were done.
That's kind of what
That-
I
that's what
understood,
they
That was my
that
impression.
they were done in Acton.
Yeah, they were
Maybe
done in
I
Acton,
misunderstood.
yeah.
I had to tell him like 4 times, I had to ask him 4 times, it's like, no, the question is, why are you doing it this
Yeah,
way
correct,
when
yeah.
the plan says this way? And then he goes, 2 more days will be done by Tuesday, no more helicopters, so they're not
Yeah.
done with the project. They're
No, I know
they're still
they're done.
conductoring, they're still doing all
Yeah,
that.
no, all that, but I just meant that my impression was that I felt like we were being brushed off, that, hey, yeah, we were done with the helicopter anyway, so like, you can ask us to stop, we were done 2 days anyway.
I don't know. I don't think that was the case, because they kept going on and on until
But,
they were like, no.
you know, I think we need to get them back in here again.
Okay.
You know, one of the things that they did say that struck me is that they are telling you these things because they want you to prepare. And
Yeah.
that relieves them of the
Of the
responsibility
obligation.
of doing anything to help you.
So then what we
In
need
other
to
words, it's
do,
all on you to
Yes.
prepare to be
Right.
without.
what we need to do is
That's-
ask them how to prepare for 72-hour shutdown. 72 past the event ending, so it could be 3.
Yeah, the 5-day
Yeah.
Santa Ana
And
event.
talks about a generator and whatever this gentleman that,
No, that's what he recommended.
Well, yeah.
We never asked them what to do.
no, but what else are they gonna say? I mean, unless you have solar with a backup battery, what are you gonna use for the generator? Unless you're going to run a treadmill real fast to generate some power.
Yeah.
So what else is there?
And how many of us can go out and buy all these generators and?
Yeah, $10,000 a pop.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah,
that
they were-
fancy system that
Yeah.
he.
And I did send you, Tom, I found, after I spoke with you, just a really quick look, that PG&E did shut down.
I read that,
Northern
yeah.
California.
So they're already
on
doing
the
it.
SPSPS.
They shut down what, Jackie?
PG&E, under their wildfire plan, last week, shut down a big area of distribution for this proactive
Under the
stuff.
same-
Under the SPS,
Okay.
So,
whatever,
SPSS.
SPSP or
I think it's-
PSPS.
yeah, it's a little thing to try to remember. But, so they're doing it already, so Edison will be doing it as well.
Yes.
And
So, okay, so maybe under old business, later on, you should make a motion that we ask Edison to come back.
And
So
then
don't
we
forget
work
to
on
do
getting,
that.
becoming a party to the PUC hearing.
Oh, okay, I forgot to, okay, so, again, after I spoke with you, I did some digging, and it turns out that the County of Los Angeles, in this wildland mitigation plan effort that is what's driving all of this, it's a proceeding, or it's a docket before the Public Utilities Commission. And the, what I learned was that the County of Los Angeles filed a late motion for intervenor status. It was granted by the judge just like a month or 2 ago. Now, I haven't had a chance to read what case they made for the judge to grant them late intervenor status, but normally they do if good cause is shown. So if that could be a huge benefit to us. So before we maybe ask Edison to come back, we find out from well, Chuck's not here tonight, nobody from the county's here. We find out who is the point person, who's attending the hearings and the pre-hearing conferences, and get to them, sit down and talk with them. That would be my recommendation, that we follow that course of action, either in parallel or before getting Edison back. I don't know what you guys think of that, so.
I think knowing the most stuff we can before having to come back makes more sense than calling it back a fourth, a fifth, and sixth time.
So maybe an unfinished business, we can do that too, or,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
and I did have, I just looked at my notes, I do have a couple board members on. I'm sorry, I have something in my throat, I don't know what the problem is. It turns out that we have come upon a gap between what we understood the support would be for Aiden Viddick's Eagle Project and the support, or the extent to which Public Works is willing to work on this. Because of that, we sent a letter to Public Works, Mr. Pastrella, who's the head of Public Works, as well as Supervisor Barger, and various groups within the county. And we've not heard back from them. But I would like to point out that the AV general plan and the county-wide general plan specifically calls on and advocates and wants to install community signage as a means of communities,
Pride.
community pride, community identity. It supports all of those things. Now, in the city, they put those welcome signs in the city right, in the road right of way, and the city does it. So no private group has to do it. But because we're in the county, we have to rely on the county for that. Because the county right of way encroachment permits are set up for people who want to put up like, you know, like an advertisement sign for a business or something like that. It's not this sort of thing. So there's a gap between what their system is and what the county plan says we're supposed to have. So I'm a little disappointed we haven't heard back. I think I wrote that letter on Wednesday, right? Wasn't it?
It was early in the week.
So I'm going to follow up, but if anybody else has any ideas, I'd love to hear them.
I was kind of hoping we'd have some from the county here that we could,
Oh, I was hoping for that too.
yeah, tug on their hair.
Be that as it may. I could follow up with, I'll just send it out again and say, you know, I'm not sure anybody received this, maybe it got bounced back, so we're resending it, I don't know.
Maybe reach out to Chuck.
You know what? Maybe Aiden should go down and testify in public comment.
Oh.
I
At the
was,
board
I was, that's exact, I was going to suggest that to him on Tuesday, because the board's meeting on Tuesday. Of course, maybe I'll be down there anyway. Oh, that's right, Mr. Perry probably won't be available on the 25th, because that's a board meeting. I'm sorry, 25th is a board meeting, so that probably won't work. So I think that's a great idea, in his uniform and everything, so I will recommend that to him. So, anyway, that's what's going on there.
Cool. All right, any other,
It would be, wouldn't it?
any other comments?
And they would say, look, it's just not the same people from Acton coming every time.
Yeah.
So hasn't he heard back as far as how many signs or any of that?
No, because the most recent communication is that he has to hire a contractor and get insurance and everything else. Everything that they told Mr. DeHemmer that made it Mr. DeHemmer not be able to do the project. So when we had worked out with Chuck, he's like, no, the county can work with you. I give him the sign. He said it right here in this meeting right now. So on that basis, Aiden's gone forward with all of this planning and President, he's got sign-offs from the Boy Scout Council, from everybody. And then last week, he got the same
Wall.
response. So,
As the one,
As
Mr.
the
Hammer
previous.
got.
yes, which we thought
Had
been moved
circumvented.
past, or not circumvented, but moved through.
Because Chuck said.
6, yes. And I had spoken with Chuck, and Aiden sent Chuck the plans and all the locations, and because he's gone through and looked at the county's GIS system and said, oh, this looks like at this location, the right-of-way is 100 feet wide, it's been given, but the street itself is only 24 feet wide, so there's plenty of room, and it won't, you know, there's plenty of room, so. He spent a lot of time, because I sat down with him and showed him how to go through the GIS, trying to figure out at each of the boundaries, Soledad, Angeles Forest Highway, so. I think we'll work through it, I just think it's this again, so. But maybe this can be closed quickly if he goes down and presents, so I think that's true.
So did Mr. DeHamer ever do a different project?
Yes, he did, he
Okay.
helped
So he got his
Carousel
Eagle-
Ranch,
did
I
his
think.
Eagle Scout?
Yes, he did get his Eagle Scout about
Good.
2 months ago, and now he's off to the Navy. He just
Okay.
graduated, or maybe 4 months ago, just before he turned 18, so it was all good.
Good.
Anyway, he's a scout with Agua Dulce, so.
All right. Let's move on to CSD update.
Oh, they're already there.
Yeah, that was fun.
Now, I don't think we got any comments from anybody.
I haven't seen any, so we just had a few questions. It was just turned out to be Jeremiah and I that at the meeting we went through each concept and what we had actually, you know, written down for the county. Just so everybody here knows, we had like 2 or 3 public meetings, talked about the CSDs with the people that came up with our subjects, and then we had a list of specific things that we asked the county for. Now they've come out with the concept draft, but the concept draft doesn't go into any details. It's just very much of a concept. They haven't hammered down the details yet. But I feel like there's a couple of things that they left out that we had specifically asked for that could have been in the concept. So
So what was missing?
that was kind of where we're at.
We're thinking there's a couple of things I think we want clarification on too, whether this is in addition to or like existing, because some of the stuff was written in a way that seemed like it was replacing what language we had before instead of addition, adding on to. So.
Right, instead of, yeah,
So we
so
want clarification is.
we want clarifications as to that these things are just being added to, not
Ripping,
replacing. Pretty much what we wanted replaced, I believe, would be like home-based business, because we kind of reimagined that and restyled that a little bit, so. But commercial, development standards, no, they're pretty much stay the same, and these are just things that we wanted to add to them. Okay. They did ask, let's see, dog breeding and breeding. I have a couple of these, if anybody else wants to look at the concept draft, as we talk about them. This concept draft, and then these are the different topics that we wrote, so a couple more. Let's still share them, we can share them. Okay, so on the first one, in the dog breeding and boarding, we don't have anything in our CSD already about dog breeding and boarding, so this would be new. The community does not want commercial dog breeding or puppy mills in the community. Boarding and rescue facilities for dogs should undergo some discretionary review and be revoked when there are noise impacts to neighboring properties. Buffers should be established to prevent impacts to neighboring properties. I said we did not, I believe we did not actually identify what we would like as a buffer. I believe that we should definitely have more meetings to discuss what we would like as the buffer. Whether it goes into our comments on June 28th, I think that it should, but I believe that we'll still be able to comment after that.
I can write on this copy.
You can write on that copy, yes. And then under the discretionary review, I believe Jeremiah, you were the one that asked that question, that who is reviewing it?
Yeah.
Could they identify?
For the boarding?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, whether is that animal control, or is it?
Yeah,
Who's
gonna
doing the review?
Whenever it's a discretionary review, there's always a public outreach effort.
There will be?
Yes.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's not discretionary.
Okay.
The difference between discretionary and ministerial is basically a permit that is issued based on simply lookup tables. Like, for example, a building permit or electrical permit where they just look up and say, oh yeah, you got the right,
Gauge
hillside
wire.
gauge. Yeah, exactly.
So
But when there's some discretion involved, should we condition this to our impacts? That's called a discretionary.
So I think the impetus of where my question came from was that providing a place, a clear-cut place for people to go if there was an issue. Hey, if there was a dog facility and it was next door to you and you had a noise problem, who do you talk to get it resolved? Do you call the sheriff? Do you call?
So that would be something different
Yeah. So
than
but I
a
think
discretionary review, because that's, what you're talking about is after the permit's already been issued and the facility's in place.
Yes.
So they kind of jumbled that, is that right? Okay.
I mean, obviously there needs to be some discretionary review before it goes in, but then after the fact, what do what's the?
Yeah, a lot of people have asked, I know the other folks in the AV, now that almost all of the AV is now A2 and therefore able to have puppy breeding operations. They've asked for minor CUP, not a full-blown CUP, but that way input on
There's some kind of-
noise concerns can come
Yeah.
up. And that would give you the sort of thing you're talking about, because they're conditioned.
Yeah, just because I know that there's a lot of, and it seems to be increasing with posts I've seen about a lot of rescues and stuff that people are coming out here and saying, rescue
Oh,
for
yes.
dog, this, that. So that's great, but just what's the mechanism,
Right.
both in and what's it's in?
So you're not, you guys are good with, it's a change, but you guys aren't.
Yeah, I think we just wanted
Yeah.
clarification.
I just feel we need some, a little clarification. We need to make sure we come up with what
Buffer.
we would like
the
to see
buffers are.
buffers.
Because I don't recall it, like you said, I don't recall asking for buffers.
Well, I don't think we did because we didn't have that whole thing about dog breeding. This is a new thing, right?
Well, it's new, but.
No, I
let's
think
see
we
what
asked for
dog
We asked
breeding.
them, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we asked for that, but I mean, that's a whole new whole cloth.
Yeah, exactly, so you're right.
They
Yeah,
wouldn't have
this
that
is
existing
what,
thing to point
this
to.
is what we asked for. The commercial breeding of dogs is banned in Acton. If boarding facilities result in noise problems in the community, the boarding facility permit shall be revoked and the business curtailed. Specify minimum distance from lots that can be developed with residents.
So that's kind of a buffer.
That's the buffer zone.
Yeah. So they put it at their speak.
Right, but what is the minimum distance? That's the buffer.
Okay.
Specify.
Well, we haven't
minimum
received it.
distance. Yes, we
See,
haven't received
to a
it.
large extent, our whole purpose is to wait for comments from people, and nobody's
Yeah.
ever submitted in a year. We have gotten hardly anything. So maybe what we should do is just, I know we don't have much time, but maybe what we need to do is have another committee meeting
Okay.
to put these out and then put them out on the website. So we'll,
They are on the website.
no, I mean, if we come
Oh,
up,
come
talk
up.
about
Yeah,
what the numbers would
distances,
be,
yeah.
and then that would give people a week
Well, and
to
then-
comment on it
Right.
before we have to meet our deadline of June 28th.
And
I don't
with
know
our-
what else to do.
With our current questions around filming and distances, I think we also need to be explicitly clear where the distance is from. Whether it's from the kennel or from the property
Yeah.
line, whatever,
I agree.
we need to specify. So there's no ambiguity about, well, you said 500 feet, and today we're gonna say it's from the kennel, tomorrow we're gonna say it's from the property line.
Right. So I think you're right about that. So do you guys want to try to
Yeah,
put together a meeting?
put together
Yeah,
a
I think
meeting.
we- I
We just
think
have to,
we-
we just have to write them an email before that day.
Yeah, so,
Correct.
Yeah,
so,
tell them we add comments. We haven't had any comments.
Well, we had the most input when we started this process.
Yeah, there was
Yes.
groups. It
well, and
wasn't-
we shaped everything. We captured everybody's comments and put it in. We
Mhm.
didn't,
No.
expand on or omit anybody, so.
I published the concept.
Saw
that.
And it doesn't surprise me that there's not a whole lot of response because they're so vague.
Mhm.
And if you have a list of specific conditions, provisions, whatever, and then somebody doesn't like something specific, you'll hear from them, but
Right.
otherwise,
Yeah.
I don't know,
It was very vague, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Very
that's the way I
boilerplate.
felt.
I wouldn't know exactly what to comment except to,
Well, I mean, if
make
you
up
were,
my own rules.
Yeah.
if you were somebody though, who was opposed to buffer zones, you could tell us that, right? I mean,
Or if you had an idea of what it should be.
yes, exactly. I mean, I think
Or
there's,
if you thought you should be able to breed commercial.
yeah.
Right.
Okay, but even for something like a buffer zone, you need a glossary so people understand exactly
What that means.
what a buffer zone
Or
is.
they, I mean, the whole purpose is for them to tell us what they think.
Right, we've given them our,
Best guess.
and we've told them what, a lot of specifics.
We've
They
told
were
them
in
what-
they were in our original talks with them. They just came up with the.
And we posted that was submitted to the county too, and never, so
Well,
Yes.
you talk about county specifics, why are they coming back with vagaries?
Yeah.
The only thing we can come with is that since they used the word concept draft, that they're trying to condense it down. I also think it gives them wiggle room to come up with whatever
They want.
they want versus what
Yes.
we suggest.
you know what that.
But that's just my,
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, our task now is
Yes,
to deal with
correct,
this,
yeah.
so I
Yeah,
gotta.
yeah.
Right, right.
So, I am, tomorrow's not good, but Wednesday could be good.
Okay, I could do Wednesday.
I can do Wednesday.
Okay.
It's no power day.
Oh, there you go.
Tom can do Wednesday.
Wednesday.
All day.
So we're not
Wednesday
meeting
we-
at Tom's house.
Wednesday, it'll be dark outside.
No
Wednesday,
no fans, no
I'm
water.
open Wednesday afternoon.
Wednesday afternoon? Okay.
Okay. That's why I can't do Wednesday afternoon.
What time is good for people?
You can't do Wednesday afternoon?
I can't.
Oh,
That's why I can't.
I was like, you can't.
I'm sorry.
I was like, oh. We were doing
I said that
so
wrong.
Wednesday at what time?
Tell me.
I'd rather do it a little earlier, but it has to be be afternoon?
Well, he's only available
Yeah.
after.
Oh, okay.
But you don't have to interrupt me, I mean, I've been to every other meeting, I can miss one, the worst
No,
one.
afternoon's fine.
All right.
What time?
Tuesday.
Two's great.
Two?
That's the hottest part of the day, so you want to get into a cooling space, Tom, right?
That's
Speaking of cooling space,
So, okay, where
Maybe
do
the
y'all
county
want to
library.
Can we come to the library, is that where we're?
that's what I was gonna
You want to
ask.
hear? Are they gonna have power?
Yeah.
You guys have,
I haven't been told about an outage.
I would hope they would tell
Well,
me.
let me just share something with you.
You're talking about Edison.
You may not know.
Okay, so we're talking 2
Do you-
days.
Are you, yeah. Are
so
you-
maybe we can do the little room, and we wouldn't have to worry about reserving it.
What time would you use 2 for about how long?
Maybe an hour.
If it's an hour, it's not a problem at all.
What if
do
we
you-
went
do you
to
have
2
for-
hours? Because it might be a little longer than an hour.
What do you have going on?
I've got a program to do in the afternoon. Let me go see what the little, it's only gonna be the few of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just need the little one.
Let me go grab the calendar.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
You said 2 o'clock, right?
Yeah. And I had announced at the last meeting, but I know you weren't there, that at the ARTC meeting, if there are things that people want to add, they can, it's not too late to put them in the concept draft. So a lot of communities were excited about being able to put the SEA restrictions
Okay.
within their own communities. So if there are concerns, we've had a lot of discussions about filming. You know, this would be a time to do that too. And then if we put them in, we could post that in their name.
But they left so much of our specifics out of the concept draft, so I think it's what we're gonna ask them to put in the concept draft.
Yeah.
Put everything back in.
Yeah, but it has to go in the, well, if you want to add, it has to go in. This is the last shot before they go from jello to concrete. Or I should say from sand to jello.
Okay, you're good for the study room tomorrow.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
2 to 4.
Wednesday.
Or Wednesday, yeah.
Perfect.
That's what I meant.
Just making sure.
Thanks, okay. All right, did you want to go through some other ones, or?
Do we want to wait? I mean, if we're going already.
If we're gonna do it again on Wednesday, let's just wait.
Okay.
Okay.
But hopefully people will, the
Unless the audience
message is
wants
that
us
we're
to go
going to
through it.
post what we've talked about on our website, any changes we want to see.
Yeah.
And please get back to us by the 28th of
Well,
June.
maybe the 27th, so we
Yeah,
can include that.
27.
Okay.
So it's confirmed Wednesday, our power outage from 8 AM to 4 PM.
8 p.m.
Estimated 4
At
p.m.
8 PM?
That's how
Yes.
late to go.
8 AM to 8 PM?
Yes.
Really?
Well, we did get turned on at 6:45 last time.
So an hour, so maybe 5 o'clock.
It's an estimate, 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock, that's an estimate.
I guess. We don't really know. They don't tell us.
They just say you're not gonna have.
But what did you say about every Wednesday? Or are you just joking?
No,
This
this will
is
be our
fourth
fourth
outage.
Our fourth outage.
They're going up Aliso Canyon, and they haven't even gotten to past Bloom
I don't know where
Ranch,
they're going
and
next.
we're way past Bloom, so we're just guesstimating. At the rate they're going, it's going to be,
Right, but when they work down Carson Mesa, our power goes off. When they work on YA, our power goes off.
Huh.
Y8 too?
Yeah.
They should be able to section you off from that.
it's a big project.
They don't care.
They don't care.
No.
They're not losing power.
It's not their productivity.
Well, but it is a fact that if what they're doing is not reflective of what they told the PUC, then the PUC can order them to mitigate, to do more. For example, bring you a generator to operate. 'Cause no, I'm not kidding. If there are mechanisms to make that happen. So that's why I think we need to reach out to the county and, so.
And by the time they
No
go through
county
the
today.
process of getting you
There's
what you
no
need.
county.
No, I mean, sometimes it can be within sometimes, well, according to this, it might be going on for months. Sometimes they can get it done within a couple of days. The advocate's office at the PUC, this is not something you would do a formal complaint on, that would take a year, but that's not, they have quicker mechanisms to address concerns, so, but I don't know if that would be something you'd even want.
No, it'd be better
better than nothing.
Some of them have energy than zero.
Yeah. Anyway, so we'll reach out to the county, hopefully get that person's name tomorrow.
Well, speaking of power, are we, is that it for this CSD update? Anything else, right? We got our meeting, okay, Clean Power Alliance workshop.
Okay, yes, so we got an email forwarded from the ARTC last week that, the Clean Power Alliance is hosting a workshop to share thoughts on, at our interactive LA County workshop next week on June 18th for customers and community members about what kinds of future programs we should include in our local program strategic plan. So we had community input from a number of people saying, well, what are you going to do for our community if we stay in this? You know, what, and a gentleman, Roberta's husband, I think, suggested that, you know, help homes, put solar on homes or what have you. I suggested that they consider putting solar shade structures over the high school. The high school's already moving in that direction. I have personally looked askance at the rates that this company was going to charge our school to do that, and I didn't think that they were good rates, but if CPA is looking at projects like this, they could do that and then not charge the school anything. Because the CPA will be making peak power when the school isn't even in session, yeah. So anyway, so what I did last week when I saw this is I sent a placeholder for a spot so that somebody from the town council can go. If the town council is interested, I can go unless somebody else wants to go, or we can have more than one person go, I'm sure. But to go and represent the town council in this meeting, we need to approve that. So that's why I've asked for it to be put on the agenda. People think that's a good idea, then I'm happy to do that. That's in LA at 1 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah, I believe that we send a representative,
Okay.
Jackie, if she's willing.
We only have one Jack. So okay, so we have a motion. Second.
Good. I don't know if I should say.
Are those the kind of ideas you're looking for, Jackie?
I'm going to make sure that they
Okay.
hear them.
Because I got the feeling it was more socially aware than
I don't
Actually
think it's,
doing anything?
doing anything related to electricity.
well, it's, maybe, I don't know.
So at least we'll know
I-
after this.
Well, maybe they'll like fund all of their social programs and they'll hitch it to the one solar program they're going to do in Acton. I don't care what they're going to do elsewhere.
It doesn't hurt to ask, what's the worst thing to do?
Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, so.
All right, so I need a second though if we're gonna.
I'll second
All right, thank you. All right, any other discussion? All in favor?
that. Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
That'll be interesting.
I will be curious to see, because I think that they, like, I thought, you know, Roberta's husband made an excellent point, that this is, if you're going to talk about helping, that this is, you know, it's controlled by this weird
Local.
entity, and it's supposed to go back to local, what better way to serve local community than actual, you know, doing something in the community?
Right. And there are other parts to it that I'm not going to, well, I might mention it, but, you know, if they're planning on executing power purchase agreements with large, you know, utility scale solar, of which well, I think there are almost 45,000 acres of the Antelope Valley has already been destroyed or ripped up for solar farms. If, you know, if they're going to continue in that
Yeah, this
mode,
offsets.
then, you know, and we have to deal, because all that power is for LA's benefit and goes right through the Edison transmission lines in our community. So we're multiply impacted by this stuff. The really local distribution is much safer and saner. We don't have we don't have fires, we don't have, you know what I mean? So it's, anyway. And another thing would be like to help people who already have solar put batteries in.
To deal with the safety shut.
Exactly. and find out, hopefully CPA's been participating as part of this whole wildfire shutdown thing, because their customers are,
Yeah.
anyway, I'm gonna find out. I don't know, it's, who knows?
Hey, I think it'd be good. We could get some answers or some ideas about what their thoughts are. Because it seemed like, to me, I got the impression it seemed like it was fluid, like they haven't really fleshed out.
Yeah.
Keep up with their workshop.
Yeah, what do you want us to do? Oh, I'm happy to tell them.
All right, LA County Sustainability Plan.
Okay. Has anybody had a chance to look at it?
Just that.
Has anybody in the audience had a chance to look at it?
Hold on to your seats.
Anybody like it? Okay, so the sustainability plan has a lot of, and I'm only on page 90 of 190 pages. So I'm not done with it, but the thing that, a number of things really shocked me, and I mentioned some of them the last meeting, but I didn't mention the last meeting, was found here on page 70, because I only just stumbled on it last week, is that it bans, it sets as a target by 2025, which is, by the time this is adopted, only 5 years away, right? No new discretionary development in high hazard areas. By 2035, which is 15 years away, no new by right development in high hazard areas. Now, the plan does not define the term development.
What does it define a hazard area?
Yeah, it talks about hazard places subject to wildfires, flooding, extreme heat, and sea level rise.
Oh, so all except for sea level were covered.
But I know they mean Acton
Yes.
because they have on page
map.
72,
Yeah.
is it 71, the CAL FIRE map showing high hazard and very high hazard. Of course, Acton's in very high hazard, so I assume we're captured by high hazard. A couple of things. So there's no definition of development. But I found the initial link for the sustainability plan on the SEA website. So, and I know regional planning has been heavily involved in the sustainability plan, although there's been no outreach to any of us here. The definition of development under the SEA ordinance is very big and broad, but it includes a statement that any modification, expansion, so on, to existing structures is considered development. So I'm sitting here thinking, well, if I have to replace the roof on my house, I can't just put the same roof on, because the county adopted that cool roof ordinance. You're probably gonna put a different roof on, especially if your roof was probably 20 years ago. So that would be a modification to an existing 5. No by right development will be allowed in high hazard areas like Acton, which means I don't think, it seems to me that even getting a roof permit would be covered by this ban. If you need to, so for example, whenever you put in a septic system, you have your septic system, and then you have your expansion system, just in case you have to put your leach lines in a different place, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you have to do that. Well, you are now expanding your disturbed footprint. That would be a by right development that would be covered by this ban. You need to sink a new well, put a new well in, or whatever, that would be a by right development. So I'm looking at this, and I sure wish there was somebody from the county here, but I'm looking at this thinking, it bans new development, right? Of course, it'll cause there won't be none of the vacant properties will be developed, so we're gonna at least stagnate. But then I'm looking at this, and in the long term, it's not even going to allow us to maintain what we have, because we won't be able to pull any permits to maintain our structure, so it's gonna cause decay. And then, with this 2025 ban, new discretionary development, well, the water haulers have discretionary permits that they have to renew. As far as I can tell, this would capture them in as early as 5 years. So I'm not even seeing a path for, if this is adopted as written, water haulers being able to renew their next CUP. Now, when the water haulers go away, a whole section of not just our community, but Agua Dulce community, they serve people in the Leona Valley, they're gonna go away. Their houses will be red tagged. And there was a comment made at the Agua Dulce Town Council meeting last week to that effect, that that the county will red tag your house if you can't meet the minimum standards that the county determines you should, in terms of well yield or whatever, even an existing house. So I believe this is going to eventually lead to, first of all, stagnation pretty quickly, and eventually decay in our community, which maybe that's the objective, that will get us all out of here. So I'm concerned by that. I'm concerned, at the beginning, they talk about every district has a, let me see, let me find it. What's it called? Every district has a, what they call a community-based organization that's to anchor with an anchor of a CBO in each district, okay? And they're supposed to be the ones that is doing all the outreach and the communications and the connections. Our anchor CBO, community-based organization, is a group called Day One. They have offices in Pomona, Pasadena, and whatever else. Now, I was going to reach out to them last week to find out, how they talked to us, but then I realized I should probably wait to have this conversation to find out if the town council would want me to do that, or if somebody else from the town council would like to do that. Because I think there's been no outreach, no discussions, and
Yeah, that's probably.
and this is, the CBO anchors are playing an important role in facilitating workshops,
What?
uplifting equity in the planning process, and ensuring that policy discussions are inclusive.
We heard nothing from no one about anything about data.
So before, I want to find out, maybe somebody else should call them, because I'll probably explode when I call them, but I think they should be contacted to find out what they're doing for us, with us. And anyway, this is just a smattering of the concerns. I got 12 pages so far.
Well, I was concerned the other night at the Agua Dulce Town Council meeting also by what Scott Abbott, his indication that there was no guarantee, I'm not sure I'm using his words exactly, but there was no guarantee that any of the water haulers' CUPs were going to be renewed. And he kind of slid that.
I thought he said they weren't going to get it renewed, period.
What?
No.
Isn't that what they were saying? Like they were going to have to like.
No, I didn't.
Because you can't get, if you have to supplement water with water haulers, and we're going to issue any permits and all that other stuff. And they were saying like as that's going on, like the homes that are 20, 30 years, they have 200-foot wells versus the 600-foot wells. That's it. Sorry.
Yeah, I thought that would only happen if, say, one of those houses wanted to add a bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to go,
Yeah.
and so you go in to get the permits, well, they're gonna make you test the well. Well, if your well doesn't even meet the half-gallon standard that they're willing to look at now, then they'll red tag you immediately.
He kind
It
of
was-
slid that one.
it
I
was
felt
horrible.
like it was,
It was slid in. It was slid in as a justification for not decreasing the well yield.
yeah.
There was a whole list of several things he mentioned, and I picked up on that too. Next, I was going to ask questions right then and there, but I figured that would be a tangent, and Don Henry was going to cut me off, so I didn't bring it up. But they still haven't. I mean, the water haulers have already applied for their CUPs. They've been kept on the hot seat for the last, 2 years?
Yeah, but they're gonna have to get renewed again in 10 years anyway.
But
So under this, it doesn't matter, they're not gonna be approved. If this stands, this
Well,
sustainability.
yeah, but if the county does refuse to renew the water haulers, they can't legally deprive us of the right to water. I don't think.
He said they will red tag you,
yeah, he did.
because your house no longer meets the standards.
Yeah, but I was under the impression that they wanted to take over the water hauling process so that they could get the revenue.
I've never heard that before.
I have.
Okay, well, I'm sure you have.
I
I
haven't
am
heard
sure
that
you
either.
have, because you are way more plugged in than I am, so.
Well, not necessarily on all things, but I think some county person said that. I don't know if he was serious or not, but he said it in a public meeting.
I think if the water haulers really are a threat this way, then this community needs to stand up.
I would think that if this plan gets anywhere near accepted as is, we've got a major lawsuit or we lose everything. Once you
Well,
red tag,
what's in
what
this
can you
plan
do?
is, it's the roadmap for the decay of Acton.
Right.
And not just Acton, Agua Dulce, Juniper
Yes.
Hills, Leon Valley, Lakes, all
Well,
of them.
that's why it has to be stopped soon. Or,
I agree. I agree.
You might as well throw
I've
away
spent
the
almost a
rest of the
solid
property.
week just on this issue, writing this letter, and I couldn't agree more. I agree.
can't believe people, they do this sort of thing.
Well, that's why you have to stand and fight.
I don't know about the rest, you and Jackie and the ones that were there at that meeting that night. I was pretty concerned at Scott Abbott's attitude about the whole thing. It was all about the inner city, not anything to do
Right.
with the rural communities is what I felt like.
They don't care about the rural communities.
I know, but we pay taxes too,
Yeah, but not enough.
apparently.
Not enough to compete with what the revenue they could get, that they get from the cities or whatever. They have a game plan for this area, and it doesn't include people like us living here. It's as simple as that.
Where would they like us to go?
Oh,
To a
wait.
high rise in the city,
And
near
we have to
near
wear
a transportation
not out.
zone. I'm sorry, what?
You have to live up, not out.
Right.
I'm afraid of heights, I'm not going.
She's afraid of heights.
Well, we live on top of you then, Pat. I like heights, but I like them from a mountaintop.
Yeah.
Not from a high rise.
So I guess I've got the letter partly drafted. I was hoping to get it out to you today, but that just didn't happen.
Okay.
And I'm only halfway through the plan, not even halfway through the plan.
So do you
Do
want
we
us
need
to
to- yeah.
read your?
Do we need to make a motion?
I don't know, what's
Your
your
letter? Do you want us to start reading your letter, or will you'll just? include
No, I'm
it?
still, what I sent last week is like, it's totally different, way
It's,
more.
it's completely different, you're not just adding on to it.
No,
You're-
it's,
okay.
yeah, because when I realized the other
Extent,
stuff, this was weak. This had to be thrown away, truncated, and a whole master surgery event happened. So it's like,
So, do we need to,
I don't think we moved to write a letter, because it wasn't on the
Yeah.
agenda last week, so I move that we write a letter in opposition to this, or letter providing comment on the proposed sustainability plan. And reach out to day one.
Second.
okay, let's say, any other discussion? Thank you for taking the mantle up and
Yeah, my pleasure.
right, because it's a very serious issue.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to also mention the last part, the other part that I would dive more into, this whole issue of CEQA. The plan itself doesn't have an environmental document, although when I called the CEO's office, they said it's binding. Well, and I mentioned this before about you need to have a CEQA document if it's binding. However, reading it, and I found another, even more today, there are more and more sections of it that say, that indicate that this will be, it talks about the action plans that will be implemented and with target dates and all these other things. But clearly, it's a plan that's going to be addressing it. So the letter I wrote last week with the CEQA stuff, that got completely changed and strengthened and a lot more to it. So that's another part of the letter. I just want to read that out, that the CEQA issue is really
Yeah, it's a
what we
great-
need to hang everything on, or a thing we need to hang a lot on. So anyway, okay.
I haven't read the entire thing yet. Is there anything in that plan about compensating people for not being nothing, absolutely nothing? So basically, they just want to take what you've got.
No, they want to make
and
you
have
abandon what you got.
No. They're looking out for your best interest.
Oh, please.
No, they want to force an abandonment because they're going to stop you from being able to repair, develop, or anything else. And so it's not a compensation thing. It's no different than the SCA thing. No, you're welcome to give up your property if you want to do anything with it, but you have to give it up. So none of this has anything to do.
Is there precedent for this that we know of?
I'm trying to
There
say-
is in South Africa.
It's the sustainability office.
The chief sustainability office, but I believe regional planning had a lot to do with it, because I found the link on regional planning's website.
I would think that
But there's no
regional planning
others.
has to be involved in some way, so.
I asked Susie on Thursday,
Uh-huh.
to Wednesday, whenever the Agua Dulce Town Council meeting was.
Wednesday.
And I said to her, I mentioned to her about what the chief sustainability office told me, that it's binding, but there's no environmental document. She goes, well, they sort of told us on the down low that it's not binding. I'm like, Susie, what is this stuff about what they tell you sort of secretly not to share with the people that it's really not binding? It's the law. It's either binding or not, subject to CEQA or not. Don't be telling us it's binding, and in the, I cannot, I've had so many mental explosions in the last 2 weeks about this and other things that, I mean, going off in my head, I don't know if my head is exploded.
Not literally explosions.
Agua Dulce Town Council meeting with Mr. Abbott, who then told me that my poor client, whose house burned down in the station fire and had to buy another house because he could not get permits because his well production was not up to the standard. After he spent $20,000 for permits, plans, engineering, all of that, who went and bought another house here in Acton, Scott Abbott stopped me after the meeting and said, you know, if he still wants to build, I'll make that happen for you. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Well, that's what he said during the meeting, too.
Yeah,
You
then
know,
he
we'll allow it.
walked up to me and said, does your client still want to build?
He said it during the meeting.
No, my client has bought another
Oh,
house.
I know that, then that's what you
And,
said.
and he's got a piece of property that he can't do a darn thing with it. And his wife died. So, gee, no, he's not interested in building, but thank you, Mr. Abbott.
No, I didn't find.
Sorry, I
Mr.
was
Abbott
ugly that night.
informative. I think he was just following the party line, and he didn't know very much anyway. He couldn't
No, he
answer
didn't.
some of the questions.
I think, have we moved on to our
No,
next topic?
no. So
We were waiting for
we
you.
had a discussion which
Okay.
really discussed. So, any other discussion? No?
Well, you got both of that.
Yeah, well, then, all right. All in favor?
I thought we did that.
Discussion?
What are we voting on?
Motion.
Send a
Send a
letter,
letter.
a comment letter on sustainability plan.
And to reach out
Yeah,
to
no,
Dan
we
Webb.
had a second.
We hadn't
It was a
voted.
discussion and then.
I thought we
That's
voted.
funny, I
I
thought
don't think we
voted.
voted, I think we, no, we
We
didn't.
moved, yeah, we voted. And to call day one. Does
Day
anyone
one.
want to call day one?
No.
Would anyone like to have this, because this is the fun part, right?
No,
So,
I
they should be
feel
invited to our
nauseous.
town council meeting so they can share the wonderful things that they are collaborating with our
I
community
think that's
about.
unfortunately, I have to be
idea.
here
We want to
in
get our
July.
story straight with you, so what have you been sharing with us?
Invite to ATC, and how about in August, because I'm not going to be here
Yeah,
most of the July.
that's good anyway, because,
What is day one exactly?
Day one is our anchor, community-based
Advocacy
organization.
group.
you know, they have an office series, they're community-based in our community.
Why have we never heard of them
Yeah.
before?
They apparently are supposed to
Just
be.
with this.
Because Jackie just told us about it.
Ah.
'Cause they are playing the important role of facilitating workshops, uplifting equity in the planning process, and ensuring that policy discussions are inclusive.
Is this in the plan?
This is in the plan.
Page
It's like one, isn't it? It's like-
15.
Page 15.
Oh, no, they thank day one on page one.
Okay, yes, of
Yeah,
course.
day one is thanked by the chief
County funded day one,
sustainability.
or are they nonprofit?
They're nonprofit. These are all nonprofits. These are all community-based organizations.
Where is it based?
Not in our community.
Pasadena, Pomona, and Covina, something like that.
It's a little far from here to be community-based.
Yes. They didn't say which community, they just said which community. All right, let's move on. Well yield, although we've already been kind of playing that.
Okay, so well, I'm going to, my hat is totally off to the Agua Dulce Town Council for picking this cross up.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was actually very happy in a lot of ways at that meeting, at their meeting on Wednesday, which they had the public health, regional planning, Susie Tay was there, public health, public works, to answer questions and address this, and high-level people, right? So that was awesome, and it looks like they are moving off the 2 gallons per minute, or 3 gallons per minute for 24 hours and or 72 hours, whatever it is, and dropping down to half a gallon a minute for, I believe, 24 hours, but I'm not sure. they're serious.
say that.
I said they're moving in that direction.
They didn't say it though, and he was very evasive about it.
I
I
said
thought,
half a gallon a minute.
I know, but not for how
How
many
long?
hours?
Okay.
Because there's a tremendous amount of water that's wasted when we're doing these well tests. Because it was for 3 gallons a minute for 72 hours. Thousands of
15
gallons
years
of
ago.
water.
Yeah.
Well, when I built my house 7 years ago.
So we can reach out to Agua Dulce and ask them to clarify, ask them.
Yeah.
I don't think that we need to get into jackpot with this since they're doing such a good job stirring it up.
Yeah.
But I was happy that there were, you know, for 15 years, since 2002, however many years that is, 17 years, I've been working with Lillian and others and on this well yield standard that they have come up with. They pulled right out of heaven knows where. And they don't even have the right to impose it as a standard. They've never been given that authority by the board, yet they're implementing it as a standard and forcing people to comply with it anyway. So personally, I was happy to hear that. I believe they are moving the direction of getting off and getting onto a half a gallon per minute standard. Maybe it wasn't for 24 hours.
He did
But-
not make that clear.
No, but that's where we just need to push them, obviously. But anyway, so hats off to Agua Dulce on that. But some other things came up at that meeting during this issue with respect to, and it was also related to some of the information that the Pulsa Rosa folks sent to the town council addressing water quality. Now, one of the documents she sent, I don't know if you saw this, but it says straight up, let me see. Hold on, let me pull it up. It says, talking about Santa Clara River watershed and water quality. It says right here that in particular, in the Agua Dulce area of the upper watershed, impacts on drinking water wells from septic tanks are a major concern. The community of Agua Dulce is undertaking a wellhead protection effort with oversight by board staff, board being the water boards, not board of supervisors. Well, I called Mary Johnson today, and she has no knowledge of anyone in the community working on a wellhead protection effort for well water standards. But we were guessing that maybe the Agua Dulce Town Council had received a letter back from Public Works. They also picked up the cross trying to exempt their community from Measure W, which is the flood control channel measure. We have no flood facilities. We have, our CSD says we're not supposed to have them. Everything's naturally drained, right? So, and Agua Dulce is the same way, so they were fighting that fight. So at any rate, they got a response back, and it talks about how the Santa Clara River is completely contaminated with, I have the letter here, like metals and waste from animal waste and all kinds of things. And that's something that we in Acton have been told by Waterworks District 37, that the Waterworks District wells in the river are measuring higher nitrate levels every year. And Adam Mariki, who's the head of Waterworks District, stood here and told us that it's because of all the animals in Acton. Well, anyway, I guess this is sort of going far afield, but we're looking at I think there are things going on that we're not even aware of that Public Works and the water boards are working on, and that is going to put us in a position of having to potentially redo all of our septic because we're causing high nitrate and heavy metals and all kinds of contamination. It says right here in his letter, Mary sent it to me, that from our low-density development, which of course is not true.
It seems counter, like, you would think if you were outputting more. Plus, the Santa Clara River runs right through where they're measuring this at, because all the nonsense in Santa Clara with all the Burmite and winter, all that crud. I mean,
I pulled up the impairment data and the map of impaired bodies, and because that was my recollection, that it's not just east of Lang Gauging Station. And so as of today, that's still where the problem is. So all of the monitoring that they're doing
It's all the same, yeah.
yes, except for this letter from Public Works.
Is lumping us in with, since we're
Yeah.
behind that.
Exactly, and I had thought it was, well, it was all related to the well yield conversation that we had, so I'm
Yeah,
still
yeah,
lumping
yeah,
it
it's
together.
technically.
But I probably should have asked to have well yield / water quality on it.
Well, no, but it's,
Yeah,
it's, yeah, the same discussion, but yeah, because they just shut down another well down there because it showed up contaminated.
where?
In San Cruz.
San Marino.
It was like last week or the week before.
With contaminated with what?
I don't remember, but
Heavy metals?
no, not heavy metals,
Fecal coliform?
No, it was nitrate, it was like
Nitrate.
salt, like,
Oh.
whatever.
Salt,
But not
chloride.
salt,
Chloride,
yeah,
okay,
the
chloride.
percolate or whatever the
Yeah.
stuff. But the point is that was from a well, they said, well, this is clear, it's been fine, and all of a sudden they tested it, oh, oops, like this is all of a sudden magically
Right.
popped up. Well, they banned water softeners in San Maria about 10, 12 years ago. And I mean, they did all this stuff that was supposed to help because everybody downstream in Ventura was saying, hey, it's killing all our crops, all this stuff. And I don't know that it's made a lick of difference, other than now they also have that removal facility too that's processing the salt out that they're going to be doing in San Maria as well.
Oh.
The processing plants is supposed to be pulling all.
See, you know all this stuff too. This is-
Well, it's just because I lived in San Maria for so long, and it was always a hot button thing because
Oh.
people were ticked off because, hey, you're taking away my water softener, and the water's harder than heck because it's all out of the ground. And so, so I've stayed abreast of that. But yeah, there's a bunch of nonsense going on with water down there. But I've never seen anything in that community point the finger here. It's been all the stuff that happened in Santa Clarita 50 years ago with munitions and all sorts of stuff that leached into the ground.
But apparently,
Acton in with all of that.
Yes, well, that's my point.
Another
Yes, and that's
reason to it's all
well,
out.
here's the thing, they need to be, if they're gonna lump us in with it, then they need to be showing that they can actually show that the contamination's happening back all the way up here, not just, well, it starts here. We're gonna assume it comes from everything.
so now you're coming to the heart of it.
Yeah.
Because 2 years ago, when I learned about what was going on at the lakes, Lake Elizabeth Lake, Hughes, Munns Lake, they were under what's called a TMDL, which is a really hardcore standard that the state imposes because of whatever sources, right? And I tried to help them at the 11th hour, went through the staff report. Their math didn't even add up. And it turns out that like 99.9% of the nitrate was, first of all, because the National Forest for decades
For the fish in
put
there.
fish
Yes,
in the river, in the lake, right? And they're not lakes, they're sag ponds, which means they're ephemeral and they're not, anyway. But, and we managed to get a few changes put with that last minute effort, but if I had worked with them ahead of time, we could have, now they're all looking, every one of their septics has to be redone. I think at the ARTC, they said they're looking at like $20,000 a house. And so, you know, now they have much higher density areas. They also have a wastewater treatment system. But if that's the, you know, they started there, and if they're going to start marching up towards Acton, I've been on this for almost 15 years, like checking where their impaired bodies are and stuff like that. But this is they're now lumping, let me read this to you. Despite Agua Dulce's relatively low population and density, your community faces many of the same challenges as other communities in Los Angeles County and is part of the Santa Clara Rivershed that must comply with the requirements established by the Water Board. Pollution washed into waterways and other water quality concerns remain a very real problem. The rural, agricultural, and equestrian communities in Agua Dulce contribute to significant fertilizer, pesticide, and animal waste pollution to the downstream waterways. In the most recent enhanced management plan for the Upper Santa Clara Watershed Management Group, an assessment was conducted to identify sources of the highest water quality concerns. The assessment identified that the portion of the Santa Clara River that Agua Dulce drains to includes elevated levels of bacteria, salts, and metals. That is exactly right, but they aren't coming from us.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing. This is, so I'll continue to notify about the following confirmation sample to yield an average result of 0.06 milligrams of percolate per liter of water, or 6 micrograms per liter. We contacted our contaminated well sits near Saugus Percolate Treatment Facility in Santa Clara River Wash. behind the Lowe's, Home Depot, home improvement store, the Bouquet Canyon Road, talking about Bouquet Creek. Well, so my point is like, these are all central.
Right.
I've not seen anything where they're like, hey, we had a
It's
well.
coming from
Yeah, like in Agua Dulce, I mean, here's the thing, these people are pulling water out of my own yard, and you're not detecting any of this. I mean,
Yep.
so how all of a sudden magically it's appearing?
Because they're grasping anything that they can paint
Yeah.
on Acton to blow it out, literally out of existence. And so I don't know what Agua Dulce Town Council is going to think about this, but I personally would like to offer to them, to work with them, to nip this garbage in the bud. Because I've seen it in 2 documents just today that I've read. The one, it's a formal document that Pulsarosa people sent over, I think prepared by the water boards, that says right here that the Agua Dulce community is undertaking wellhead protection efforts. I mean, stating right here that Agua Dulce believes they are contaminating their own wells, which I have never heard anyone in Agua Dulce say that. And Mary Johnson said she is not aware of this. Now, that doesn't mean she's omniscient, but she knows a lot of what goes on in that town. So
I think we hear about it. I mean, I think that would be a big.
But see, these are things that everybody's saying to everybody,
That's
except,
fact. Yeah.
no, they're saying it to everybody except people who live here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so thankful to the Pulsarosa folks for sending this to us, because I want to know what is this stuff?
They sent it to the
They sent it to
agency?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's in
No,
there.
they sent it to town council.
Yeah,
Town council.
It says
Oh,
ATC.
they said agency.
No,
Okay.
the ATC, yeah.
Okay, so I don't even know who produced it. I'm assuming it's the water boards, because the links, none of them really work, but at any rate. So I would like to see if the Agua Dulce Town Council wants to work on a full court press, just getting this myth dispelled once and for all, because it's been hanging around for 15 years. And now, right now, where the rubber meets the road in the lakes, they're paying a lot of money because of.
They didn't deal with it.
For them, this started 20 years ago. And so we're starting in that mode too. So anyway, so I don't know what you guys think of that.
Yeah, no, I think we should. We have a common problem, which is
Yes, we do.
we're both upstream and are being accused of contaminating all the water in the middle.
Like
So-
it's factual,
Yeah.
like it's,
Yep.
Well, that's what it is. It's speaking about it as if it's fact, and the only
Right.
fact that there is, I mean, so far we've kind of highlighted one thing we don't think is factual, which is this wellhead treatment, which apparently nobody's aware of. And I would think that, some of the guys like, Don Henry, I mean, wouldn't they know if they were putting in a well, and they would be happy to put in a well?
Well, see, that's the trick. This might be a case of the county, public health, working with the county,
Yeah.
well yield, working with the county regional planning, and they're all doing it on behalf of the community and not telling the community, but it's being done in Agua Dulce, therefore it's being painted as if the community is participating. Have you ever heard it's Agua Dulce's
Yeah.
fault? So, but for the record, the only thing that's been found, according to the county, the state water board, of which the LA County Regional Water Quality Control Board is our agency we reach out
Region
to.
4, yes.
They're all under the umbrella of the state water boards, is this land gauging station issue. So, now, there might be something, I don't know what other, in terms of Santa Clara River, in our issue, so, I don't know what this part is right there. Anyway, so,
Lillian, do you remember from the other night who actually said that there was no guarantee that the CUPs were gonna be renewed for the water haulers? I'm just, was it Abbott?
Oh, yes.
Did Susie Tay say it also? Because I'm looking at my notes from the other night, and I've got Susie Tay at Regional Planning.
She said other things.
Okay,
I don't know exactly.
I don't want to be wrong in my note-taking, but for some reason I've got Susie Tay said it.
what is it you said she said?
That there would be no guarantee to renew the CUPs for the water haulers.
Yeah, I wasn't just that.
Did you?
I would have said that Abbott definitely did.
Well, Abbott did, but.
Okay, it's on the website. Abbott's presentation is not, for some reason the news cut off all the presentation parts that were done.
Oh.
But the discussion where Susie Kay talks is on the
Okay.
video, so you can
Okay.
watch that. And because I didn't listen to what she said. 'cause
I didn't do
I have the notes right here.
that. That wasn't me.
No, I was.
No, no.
Agua Dulce Town Council to work with us on putting together a joint, what would it be? Action to address. It's out there. To address this myth of contamination by low-density development. Water, Santa Clara River contamination.
Okay.
I'll second that.
That's my title.
All in favor?
I see laughing eye.
All opposed? All right, motion's carried.
Tom said the truth when you said the myth. It was just fun. It was
Yeah, I got major issues. If there.
Good, you'll be on it.
Yeah, because it bothers me because there's historically been such a massive problem with the water quality in Santa Clarita as a result of what's going on in Santa Clarita. It has nothing to do with stuff up here.
And the fact is that
Zero.
chlorides are very difficult to take out of water.
Yes.
Even when you do wastewater treatment, like large water treatment plants,
Yeah.
LA County Sand, getting chloride out is really,
It was some ridiculous amount that they were having to pay for sewage treatment to have this plant built. It was something like
Yeah.
$500 million or $1 billion for a stupid plant.
Chloride removal is very
Yeah.
difficult.
And so it's crazy. So that's why, and that was, again, that's, if you read every.
And don't forget, a lot of the salts that are in your, just naturally are chloride.
Yeah.
I mean, it occurs naturally.
Well, and I mean, here, percolate. For more 40 years, percolate was used as a solid fuel component, manufactured munitions, fireworks, flares,
Oh,
and explosives. And Whitaker Burbank located at Soledad Canyon Parkway, east of San Fernando Road. It's like,
So they say perc is the source of their chloride?
yeah.
I mean, it might be a source, but
Kelly wants to know who seconded that motion.
was it Pam?
Okay.
I did.
So, yeah, anyway, it's just crazy to me that.
All right.
All right, unfinished new business.
Okay, so we're gonna have Edison, ask Edison to come back and get we're gonna make a motion on that, because that was from last week. First, reach out to, well, we don't have to move on this. Reach out to Los Angeles County and find out what they're doing for us in this proceeding,
Right.
right?
We wanted to do that first, right, before we
Yes.
call
Yeah.
Edison back.
So do we need to have a motion for this? I don't know.
No, I think we can just
Okay,
agree to
There's a
agree.
follow, okay, so, all right, so I will do that tomorrow morning.
Okay.
And frankly, you guys, I don't think I'm going to be able to get to the end of the sustainability plan before this letter, because I want to get this letter out to you within the next 2 days. Because if anyone wants to read from page 91 to the end of the page, don't there's anything to worry about.
And what was it, 190 pages?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we got 100 pages to read.
Or you could read all 190 pages.
No, I don't want to, I don't understand it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank goodness you're reading it.
I think that's it.
I wonder if they know what they're doing. No, I just, some
Seriously.
of these, well, we talked about it before, just
It's one or the other, right? Like either aren't aware of the power that is wielded and are just, trying to kill gnats. Yeah, killing a gnat with a, sledgehammer, or there's a definitive reason why things are happening with it. I mean, it's one or the other. I don't think there's a middle ground. I think it's either complete ignorance of what actually that is going to happen because of this, or it's from the context, and I think we ran into this sometimes when we talked to some of the folks, is they're not thinking, they didn't have any concept of what rural living is
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
and they look through the lens of like my 1,200 square foot apartment in Pasadena, like there's not this concept between the two. They don't have they have a really hard time trying to figure out that maybe somebody could live differently and have a different way of living, and that's okay.
Well, we know that that's exactly what's going on. At the meeting, Kelly was there, Pam was there, about the last hearing of this SCA before the planning commission. There was this guy from, what what was he, like Sierra Club, I think, or something? Just saying all this stuff that was just flat out not true. So we went up to him and said, hey, why don't you come to Acton? You'll see we're not doing all of those things that you
just
said
claimed
we
we
were
did.
doing to the river. And he's like, and we talked for quite a while, and we said, look, our houses are, you know, I told him my house, 5 acres. I think 2 junipers got taken out. There's still, all but those 2 junipers there. I don't have a fence. The animals come and go all they want. I have little dog run out, set up, you know, it's like, you know, and the places where they have horses, you know, it's like, come, you'll see, everything's still there, and he just couldn't wrap his mind around it. So, anyway.
Are people educated?
Sure.
Highly.
I just find that difficult that they are so supposedly educated yet so narrow-minded, but then that occurs in politics too. So, anyway, moving right along.
All right. Okay, so we're gonna ask this, but first we're gonna find out what the county is doing. And then.
I think we should ask for a clear statement from the county as to their intentions, if they've got the guts to say.
Now, on which thing? On the sustainability plan, on the water issue?
On everything.
Yeah. on
But
everything.
there's so many different heads talking,
But
you know?
there's so many people at the county, and, you know, get a statement out of regional planning, get a statement out of public health. I mean, either they're, it seems to me that their motto about serving the public, we have a right to ask them to serve the public. Do not leave us in the dark. Tell us exactly what you're doing and the consequences of, you know, what you're doing and
But
what the
Lily,
effect is going to be on us.
There's
You
just
don't
no
understand what
clarification.
serving the public means. Serving the public means
Doing what they think the public wants.
what is
and it's
best for the
Needs
public. It's,
for-
Yeah, well, I'd like them to prove that up.
Back to sustainability.
they don't have to, they just like, this is what's best for you. I mean,
But how does any of this jive with Centennial? Centennial is the complete opposite of everything we just did there.
Yeah.
It's a full development in an area that was relatively untouched.
or Newhall Ranch,
Yeah.
or it could be, frankly, if I have no proof for this, so I don't know if it's true at all. It could be that the deal that was made in exchange for Centennial going forward is that this sustainability plan be developed. I mean, this just happened 2 years ago, when the Centennial project really went to the front burner. It could be, I mean, we'll never know. You would never get what you just set up at any of these, and on all of them, a bus system to go down to Soledad every 15 minutes. That's what it takes to be qualified a high-quality transit corridor. So they do that. They don't even have to have the train go every 15 minutes. But if they do that, then they would have high-density development any place where a bus station like that is set up. And we're ideally placed for that, right? Because we are the main connection between North County and South County. 5 just connects to Valencia, right? I mean, which is, you know, and rest of the LA, you know, the state. But in terms of connecting LA County communities to LA County communities, it's Acton, right through from Lancaster, Palmdale, Edwards, you know, all those areas. And of course, Victorville and everything else when they come across this way. So, you know, there's a lot of places in this plan that are in conflict with each other. So, I forgot where I was going. Oh, yeah. And you mentioned something, and I was going to segue into it with that, but now I forgot where I was going, so I apologize.
All right. So much stuff. All right, items for next agenda. We got minutes and on July 17th, we reviewed the package.
That's probably,
No, I looked at it. It doesn't appear to be up yet.
which package?
The drive-through.
Oh, okay, yeah, well, I have it, I just got the thing on Thursday, he
Yeah.
sent it like 5 o'clock Thursday night, And he sent the link to me. He said the postcard was coming to the town council. But I'll forward it to the town council so you'll know when they put the package up. So.
Okay, but and we should probably put that on the next agenda though, because that'll be the meeting before
Yes.
the 17th.
And I think I'll be here then, but after
Was that letter today from, about?
No,
the
that's
drive-through?
about the letter we sent
Oh, okay,
months ago about the CUPs for the existing drive-throughs.
okay.
So, which I'm not going to process right now. It's just
The next agenda will have what?
We will discuss the package about the drive-through hearing commission package.
That's it, that's the main thing.
That, and we're gonna review the minutes, and depending on
I think
what happens with
the
the,
sustainability thing in there again, right?
Well, comments are due June 28th.
Oh, so.
that's what I'm saying, a lot of this stuff is all ending at this month.
It's all ending,
So, I
isn't
mean,
it?
there might be something, if there's something to
CSDs
relay
again.
back before then, we'll add that. And then depending on what we find out from Edison about the county, and,
Yeah, we can report out.
Report out.
Maybe we should just put that on there because if we want to ask them to come,
yeah,
we'll just do
so
that.
we'll put that on there.
Or maybe tell them it's going to be on so they invite them if they want to come.
And we're gonna invite Clean Power Alliance in August.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. Can
That'd be
somebody
good.
take care of that?
Yeah.
Because that would be great, just like, because I'm going to be there tomorrow on behalf of us. I don't want them to think the only faces.
Yeah, I'll take care of it.
And when the sustainability plan is out, we'll send it out. I'm sorry, when the sustainability letter is done, we'll send it out to all the
Please. Try to
newspapers.
get people aware of these things.
Well, no, Agua Dulce's writing one, so comment letter. At least I thought they were.
Yeah, I think my concerns are just that when, I mean, we saw some of this with the Edison stuff, is that a lot of people say, well, I don't have time to worry about, whatever. And I've seen a lot of that kind of stuff. And so that's concerning to me because this is all stuff that actually warrants some minutes of your day. So, I would hope that as people can hear about it, that they'll take some time out to show up, be active, because this is all going to affect.
This sustainability plan, depending on how they implement it, is probably the biggest thing that's going to kill this town the fastest. So we
It's got
need
dates on it.
we need to come together as a community.
Absolutely.
If it comes to that, and because this is just going to go directly to the board. So when it does, we need to have people down there saying, I don't think so.
Yeah, and not just these people.
No, right, the
Yeah.
community
Yeah.
needs to,
A large,
like we did when we were fighting the high-speed rail.
Yeah.
We had
Yeah.
50 people down there.
Yeah.
Well, I like the 600 that came out with the clean beaches, the first thing. Speaking
Yeah.
of, Measure W, there's going to be a meeting at the civic meeting this month is going to have a speaker on Measure W. Because
You mean the Agua Dulce Civic Association?
Is that Thursday night
That's
at
Thursday night
at 7:30?
at the Living Store.
Is that this Thursday?
Yep.
Yeah. The Agua Dulce Town Council, I don't know if you heard it, but they got a letter back from.
That was the public works
county.
letter I was reading from.
Okay, and they're not, they denied the request to be exempted from Measure W.
And they denied it because Agua Dulce is contributing all of these heavy metals and everything to the river. That's why that's the basis.
Okay. I'm supposed to get a copy of that letter.
No.
I haven't sent it.
I can forward it. She sent, I asked her for it.
Great.
Well, I asked her for it today, so.
I'll take Kenny's thing. It's we gotta have documentation in order to really write this stuff up so that I can scare people enough.
Yeah, well, for this, I mean,
Yeah, this is the-
if we get confirmation from the CEO's office that it's not binding, it's just an idea, then maybe we don't need a huge trial. But I think we do.
I still
because
think, yeah, because I think
Yeah.
anything that gets in front of anything eventually
Yeah.
gets into the mindset that this is what we're moving towards.
Yeah.
This, I mean, I've not been around long enough for the initial SEA stuff, but I'm guessing at some point that was some seeded idea that it's good if we protect this stuff, and now it's grown into this thing, monstrosity.
Yeah,
Pandora's box has been opened, and now
That's
we're
exactly
seeing
right.
what's flying out. and it's
that's
not-
exactly right. You're right. think that's all I have.
Yep, all right, well then I'm gonna go ahead and adjourn this meeting at the shiny hour of 8:56 PM.
Wow.
That was much later.
I'll be here on Wednesday.